Welcome back, finally, to Mindful of Tech. My apologies that it's been so long since my last video. I've been struggling with my mental well-being, amongst other things, but I have, in the time since we last spoke, achieved a few things here in the studio, including hanging my beautiful black shelves here so that they no longer contact with the table, meaning that our overhead camera shouldn't wobble when the table does, as it was before. As you can see through my out of date and probably very inappropriate person of Chinese bobblehead origin, none of that movement is being transferred through to the shelves now, which is pretty damn cool. Other than that, an unwanted change for this video is how I'm recording the sound. Hopefully it doesn't sound too spacey, but I'm having to record directly into my Tascam instead of through my lavalier mic, stupid lavalier mic that has an on-off switch but no LED to indicate whether or not it's on, and I always forget to turn it off, and because it's been so long since I did a video, it is completely dead, so bugger that. So, in this video, we're going to be continuing with the Windows 98 build that we've been looking at in previous videos. Specifically, I want to clean up the case and get it ready to accept the fantastic Windows 98 build that I have here. So, without further ado, why don't you come around here and take a look. Come on. Come on. So, here we are. The case that I have chosen for this build. I know initially I said that there were sort of 3 cases and that maybe I'd do a vote or something to decide which one it was, but then I decided it was this one, so sorry about that. We have here our Fox Systems case. It's not in the best condition, as we can see. A little bit of rust, some bits and pieces. Hopefully we'll be able to get those off using classic ingredients, vinegar, baking powder. I also have what the Americans call a magic eraser. I believe it was called a miracle sponge from B&M Home Bargains, if you're familiar.
B&M.
Hopefully this will let us get some of the... Ooh, just touched it and put dirt on it. I clearly need to wash my hands. Hopefully that'll allow us to get some of the things off here, because I think mostly this is dirt rather than damage. We're also probably going to need, a new floppy disk drive. This one looks terrifying. Oh, fuck that. And we'll see where we go from there. So let's carefully put our Windows 98 build to one side for now. And start working on this case. So this is a classic all-in-one panel. Something you don't see very much at all anymore. And the case itself, which as you can see is quite filthy. Probably going to need a hoover before we do anything else. And things like this CD-ROM drive and this floppy drive are going to come out. The power supply will come out as well. Definitely needs a clean. We'll decide which power supply. Oh, excuse me. That Greg's vegan pasty repeating on me. We'll see what power supply we're going to use. I've got quite a few. Hopefully I've got one that's a little bit newer that we can pop in here. But yeah, first things first, let's get a hoover, I guess. Actually no, we'll take the bits and pieces out first. Bits and pieces. Chuck my screw bit on the floor. Huh. How's that camera working? Not too much vibration, I hope. I mean, none, in theory. Oh man, this head is slightly too big. Like mine. Big head, get it? What? Whoops, camera was full. Managed to get me little head in as well, so carry on. Power supply up. Now power supplies, you know, especially with retro builds, are often the thing that you want to replace. Power supplies, generally speaking, you know, you'll hear most sort of techie people saying that you always want to use a brand new power supply, never ever risk second-hand power supplies, you know, if you don't know what the history is, how long they've actually been running for, and the last thing you want to do is blow up any sensitive components by skimping on the power supply. However, when it comes to retro building, obviously, especially if you're retro building on a budget like I do, it might be worth, you know, recycling a power supply or two if you're confident enough that it's a decent power supply. I personally usually go by the sound of the power supply when you turn it on, you know, no whining or explosions or electrical arcs or anything like that. You can also as well check the voltages on the pin if you've got a multimeter, something like that, just to see whether or not it's outputting close to what it should be. Obviously you can never be sure whether or not a power supply is going to explode, but you can always open them up, give them a clean, and just have a visual inspection of what's going on in the power supply carefully, of course. Always be very careful with open power supplies. We'll look at that in another video, kind of how you can begin to judge whether or not a power supply is usable. So that's it. That is the chassis as I will be using it. Grim. So, because it's been so long since the last video, I guess anything that was living in here has had plenty of time to escape by now. So, let me grab and hoover. Our hoover's not the happiest hoover these days, so I apologise for the scream which it will let out when I turn it on. Helps me plug it in properly. Okay, so hoovering complete. You can see we have quite a lot of grounded dirt there. It's definitely going to need a good wipe down. First things first, let's get the front of the case off. Let's see what it looks like under here. Oop. Okay. So yeah, once again, you can see it's pretty grim. Nothing a good clean won't sort out. It's interesting, the actual whole of the front of it is designed to come out. It's got little clips on here so you can, I don't know why you'd want to, but you can take the whole of the front off, I guess, to run more fans or whatever you want to do. And that's quite handy for cleaning. Oh, some dead spiders there. Lovely. So yes, we'll give the plastics a clean in a moment or two. I'm down there for now. Turn our attention to the case. So yeah, that PC speaker, it's actually really cool. It's mounted on the bottom here, and then it fires up into this enclosure, so it'll echo off of this metal cage and create a really fat PC speaker sound.
Stop it! Give me that!
So that'll be a fun thing to play with when we run some of the older games on it. Hot, very hot. Because normally I'd have a lav mic, I can get away with having a fan and the window open and all that kind of thing. Today I'm sacrificing my comfort just for you, so make sure you like and subscribe, eh? I'm a glutton for punishment. Cool, so yeah, we're going to have to moisten that down. I will probably just use some screen cleaner. I've got a couple of bottles of it kicking around, and you know, it's pretty good. Not too aggressive as a cleaner, good for just getting ground in dirt and that sort of thing off. Before we do anything else, I'm going to put my hair up, because whew, I'm hot, not because I smell. Right, well, that's a touch better. So, just give this a little spray. There we go. Now you could sort of chuck this in the bath, or you know, give it an actual proper rinse down, but you know, as long as it's not disgusting, even though I'm not too concerned about the internals being absolutely pristine. Toothbrush and some distilled malt vinegar, just a little bit of vinegar to try and get some of the worst of the rust off. yeah, all in all, considering its age, I think this case is in pretty good nick. That way up again just so that can carry on soaking. And we'll have a look at the side panel. So as you can see along the top here, this is pretty dirty. Now I'm hoping that this miracle sponge or whatever it's called okay. Not sure if we need a little bit of moisture. Dampen that down. Oh, look at that. Hey. That really is a miracle sponge. Ooh, very impressed. For some reason my spray is malfunctioning somewhat today. As all that's on the inside, I think I'm probably just going to say that that's done for now. Oh no. Oh, that must have been when I put it down. Just noticed that the power switch was broken. Okay, so I think that'll be fine. So, I think we can probably say that this case, or at least the metal parts of it, are good enough for bugger it that'll do, which is my favourite type of job completion. So, we'll pop this out of the way for now. First things first. Now this Windows XP sticker that's on here has actually been added at a later date. For some reason this machine, with its Pentium 2 and its, I can't even remember how much RAM it had when I started, had Windows XP installed on it. So when I very first turned it on, Windows XP started to boot. I went away, had a cup of tea, did things for, I don't know, what seemed like an hour or so. Came back, Windows XP was still booting. So I gave up and ended up installing Windows 98. So God knows why they put XP on this machine. I can't imagine it was a very good experience. So that sticker is not original and will be replaced with a proper Windows 98 sticker when I can get my hands on one. So let's just put a bit of this cleaner on here. A bit. So this Fox Systems badge, I would like to see whether or not I can get that off. And maybe refoil it. So I would like to keep it, but if that's just transparent, now I can probably put foil behind that and put it back on, which will look much better. So yes, one thing we're not going to be able to do anything about through this cleaning process is the yellowing. As you can see, this is a very good example of the original colour versus the colour that it is now. Now, there are ways to deal with yellowing, but as far as I can tell, other than repainting, which is still, you know, not great if you're using spray cans and things like that, the sort of peroxide retro brighting methods that a lot of channels use, I'm not too comfortable with environmentally, you know, in terms of the impact of chucking that much bleach away after you finish bleaching the plastics, and from what I understand, it isn't necessarily very good for the plastics either, in that it can actually weaken them, and I've seen a lot of, you know, the results of it not working very well at all. So, you know, apologies if retro brighting is something that you look forward to, but I don't think I'll be doing anything on this channel. You know, if anyone's got any ideas for how to brighten things up without using peroxide, then feel free to post down in the comments, because I would love to know. You know, from what I've seen, you can do them with you know, sort of lights and things like that, but again, you know, there's a lot of energy consumption there, and it's not necessarily something I want to get into. But other than spray painting it, which, you know, I could go and pick up a can of beige paint and just spray it over, but then obviously you lose, if there is anything silk screened onto the plastics and that sort of thing, you lose that. So so far that hasn't really been an option that I've wanted to do. But yeah, you know, retro brighting, it can look great. I've seen really good results with it, but not for me. As I say, I'm a little too concerned with the environmental impact of all that peroxide going down the drain. Okay, so again, that is one clean frontage. Let's take a little look at this sticker. See if it is safe to pry it off. much just perished over time. So you know, I may just put it back on. It's not a really good example of the original colour. I may just put it back on if I can get the foil off. Just put it back on with no foil. Let that soak in there for a little bit and see if I can get the gunk off. But yeah, that looks like it should be quite easy to clean up and put back in, which is good because I wanted to keep that, you know, for posterity. I believe the system I've ended up with is the majority of the one that came out of this case. So it's pretty cool to keep the original manufacturer on there. I'll have a little look into them and see what they were. Probably a now defunct British OEM builder. So yeah, I mean, I think other than waiting for it to dry and selecting the other components, we're pretty much there with the case being ready to build in. So through the magic of editing, we'll make it so you don't have to wait the full length of it drying, and I'll pop this back together and we'll see just what it looks like now that it's had a clean. So here we are with our freshly cleaned case and a selection of bits and pieces which also need cleaning to go in it. I did manage to get the foil off of that Fox Systems badge, which is quite nice, so that can either just go back in place as is, or maybe I'll be a cheapskate, put a bit of tin foil behind it, something like that, see if we can make it look silver again. In terms of the other components I'm going to put in, obviously we've got a couple of floppy drives here. I probably will put 2 in, because regardless of what they say, you can copy that floppy. And got some got a CD drive here, and a DVD drive as well, a DVD writer. Obviously that's probably a bit too new, but I might pop one of those in there. Maybe we'll have 2 CD drives. I quite like this one here because the 52 times font on the front is, as far as I can see, a perfect match for the Fox Systems badge, so I think that one's going to go in it regardless. And then of course we have the main computer itself and a selection of power supplies. I'll decide which of the power supplies we're going to use, probably off camera. And the next video will be actually putting this thing together and getting it set up. So I've got some other really nice bits and pieces to go with it, and it's going to end up being a really sweet Windows 98 machine. I absolutely can't wait for us to have a play with it together. And the final thing I've been considering doing, you can see here I've removed the front panels. The plastic panels were actually missing, and I've taken the metal panels out. My plan is that via these Poundland white LED strips, which you can see I've got around my router here. I've also got some behind my computer desk as well, providing some nice ambient light. They're £2 a roll from Poundland, one of their products that's not a pound. And I'm considering putting that kind of around this area and maybe having a little display in here. I'm not really sure what of as yet, but kind of illuminate it and get some acrylic or, you know, just some sort of plastic to cover it off, so we actually have a viewing window into the machine. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to be putting in it yet. I've been having a look around. There are some Pentium 2 kind of weird spaceman plushies that were part of the promotion for the Pentium 2 CPU. So I'm considering maybe sort of suspending one of those in there. That might look quite cool. If you've got any ideas, let me know down in the comments of, you know, how I can make that look nice. But yeah, basically it's going to be, you know, illuminated with a bit of a panel, just to kind of, you know, give it a bit of a case mod and make it feel a bit more modern and special and mine. So that's it. Make sure you like and subscribe and ring the bell so that you get notified when the next video of this comes up. Hopefully that will be much sooner than this gap has been. Again, apologies for that. You know, what would really help with the motivation towards you know, doing these videos, especially on days where I can barely even find the motivation to get out of bed, would be, you know, like, subscribe, ring that bell, follow me on Twitter at Mindful of Tech. You can follow me on Instagram at Mindful of Tech, and I do even have a Patreon. So, you know, if you do want to chuck us a quid, that would be absolutely fantastic. You know, just let me know that you've enjoyed what you've seen here. And if you haven't, then there's a button for that too. And if you've got anything to say that's more complex, then type me out a comment. Let me know what you think. Let's have a chat. So, like, subscribe, follow, all that business, and I'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Bye bye.